One thing I always think about is like the struggle between artists and patrons has been around since the beginning of time and will be around till the end of time.
Oh, of course.
And if you see the documentaries about like the Eagles or about Jimmy Iovine recently, it's always a point where the artist is saying, okay, where's my money? And then the producer is saying, but I'm here to look out for you. And there always seems to be this tension. And I guess there always will be.
Well, you know, for me, I always used to get in trouble at the record companies because I never stood up for the record companies. I always stood up for the artists. And, you know, it's still the artist that gets paid last, you know? It's like the record company gets paid, the producer gets paid, the recording studio gets paid, and then the artist has to hope they've sold enough records that they're going to finally see $1. That's, you know, not really $1, but you know what I mean. Finally see some money.
And you were always on their side.
Always, yes.
And how do you keep your job when you're on their side?
I was really good at my job, and I did help sell records for big companies. So I was fun, I was smart, I knew about a lot of things. I'm still smart, and I know about a lot of things. But, you know, I just knew about a variety of types. So, for instance, Krasnow loved the idea that I was signing Metallica. He didn't understand it, but he knew from what was happening in the metal underground and being a listener and listening to what I was talking about. He said, let's do it. And, you know, at that point in time when I signed them, the metal underground, they're like the talk of the town. And you knew something big was, I knew from the get-go, something big was going to happen with this group. All 4 of the young men were wildly charismatic, and
which makes a difference.
Oh, honey, you can't be up there and be a wallflower. You have to like sock it to the people, and when you do that and they feel it and they respond, you know there's something going on there. So, you know, Bob liked that I knew about everything from Metallica. He knew at some point I wanted to bring John Lydon from Public Image Limited to the company. At some point when Bob signed Tracy Chapman in 1987, you know, he doesn't A&R records. He has a company he has to run. So he said, I signed this girl from Boston. Here, you're her A&R person. And I was like, oh my God, because she had already started the record with David Kirschenbaum, and I came in the middle of it. So all I did was I listened to the material. I gave my 2 cents in about sequencing and mastering. And, you know, she made that exquisite record that had Fast Car on it.
Yeah.
So when that came out in 1988, it boggled everybody's mind because going back to what I said earlier, I think at that point in time in 1988, people wanted to be spoken to again. And so her being this dynamic, beautiful storyteller, that song, Fast Car, people just associated with it in a very big and beautiful way.
Yeah, it was really refreshing for people after the previous years of music that wasn't necessarily talking to them.
Correct.
Okay. It's fascinating stuff. What I found really interesting is in your documentary, all these artists you work with still have nice things to say about you. You know, and like all the members of Metallica are telling you how great you are, and Johnny Rotten's in there, all these people. And I was like, wow. Because all the other documentaries,
Cindi
Lauper as well. All the other documentaries you see, there's still tension between the artists and the labels.
Well, you know, I'm a person who's very grateful. I'm grateful for my life in and out of the music business. And, you know, when I worked with these artists, I always told them the truth. You don't have enough songs yet. We're not going in the studio. Whatever. And in the end, they may have not liked me at that moment because, you know, when an artist wants to go in the studio and do their thing or his thing or her thing, but, you know, when you know it's just not there yet, you have to put your foot down. And in the end, most of the time, they were grateful for that because they would come back to me later and say, you know, I'm so glad you didn't let us go in the studio because, you know, we wrote such and such a song. And that song or that extra song or two that we didn't have 6 months ago wound up being the songs that everybody started talking about. So, you know, it's a blessing that I never argued with John Lydon. You know, it's a blessing that out of the blue, Cyndi Lauper called me twice to help her work on records, a dance record, and then a record that she made called Memphis Blues. She said, you know, Michael, I know you how to make Metallica records, but you know how to make a blues record? I said, Cin, did you ever make a blues record? She said, no. I said, we're on even playing ground now. So we just listened to tons of blues recordings, and we both knew that these songs have to come from a woman's point of view. And we wanted to go down to Memphis, and we did. And we had a spectacular time. We made an extraordinary record with a producer named Scott Bomar. We soaked up the vibes of Memphis. And when we came home...
And that's in the music. You can feel it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, never mind that Scott Bomar was in touch with all of Al Green's band, all of Isaac Hayes' band. So those people don't play around. Those studio musicians are the real thing. Right. And we got all those people, right, including... other people like Johnny Lang, who's a fabulous guitar player, Charlie Musselwhite, who's an extraordinary harmonica player. This singer that Cindi loved, and we all love her, named Ann Peebles. In the 70s, she had a song called I Can't Stand the Rain. And Cindi asked Scott, oh, I love Ann Peebles. He said, I'll call her. She lives around the corner. So everything fell into sync like that. So we knew we were doing the right thing. When we were done, we brought it back to New York. We listened to it. We loved it. And when the Grammy Award nominations came up, we were nominated for Best Contemporary Blues Album. We didn't win, but that's okay, because we knew we were acknowledged by her peers, my peers, and that we did a great job.